Here says bookmark this. Cherki will outperform Wirtz next season.
We'll see. I think that is
back it, man. Let's see what happens.
It depends how you define outperform, right? Like, are we? And I'm big on stats and GNA.
Cherki's going to be on less pressure than Wirtz. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah, that's true. But Wirtz handled the pressure, in my opinion. He won the Bundesliga with Bayern Leverkusen. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I believe in the intersection of ability, talent. I think it's everything. I don't just look at somebody's skill. There's so many skilled athletes, not just footballers, athletes throughout history who had all the talent in the world. And when the lights get bright, when everything comes down and they got to show up, they don't. If he does, kudos. I'll give him his props. But he hasn't, like, I can't say that definitively. I've seen what Wirtz didn't do. I've seen it. I've like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't take it away from him.
I wouldn't be surprised if Florian Wirtz takes a little bit of time to get used to. I wouldn't be surprised if
both of these players take a little bit of time.
And if Cherki right away it hits the ground running.
I don't see. That's the thing. I think it's more realistic that they both need time.
That's
true. I'm going with Cherki. Just slightly outperforming, but I think they're both going to do. The thing is, I think they're both going to do well. But I don't think either will flop. I think they're both going to be brilliant. I think they're both brilliant football players, and I think they're both physically good enough, and I think they're both technically good enough to deliver in this league. So it's one of those things that I want to get involved in the debate, but I don't want it to be like those weird Messi Ronaldo debates where one group, or like Hassan when he debates Paul Scholes, he always has to lie about Paul Scholes to prove his point. I'm not going to put anyone down here because I think they're both going to do well. I just the same about Cherki. I think Cherki is. I saw Culture Cam get a lot of shit for it this week, but I agree with him. I think on terms of ability,
I hate that take.
I think Cherki is one of the best in the world. I really do.
But his take was better than Mbappe. He said more ability than Mbappe, and that was my problem.
I think he does. No, I think anyone that's watched Cherki can see that his individual talent is one of the best in the world. Now, whether or not you can actually get goals out of that, or assists out of that, or consistent performances, who knows? But that's not an L take.
I agree with all of this. I just say
but surely that falls under talent, no?
You can't say so, but like Kylian Mbappe, you just can't go. Cherki has more. In my opinion, that's where you destroy the arguments. That's where it gets. Why? It's not fun anymore.
Why?
Really? Like Kylian Mbappe is a World Cup winner.
No. But you're taking anything away from Mbappe. In fact, you're giving him praise because this guy's performed on a consistent basis. We've seen so many. So hang on a minute. Adel Terrace, yeah? This guy was better than so many different players in this league. So many different players. Yet he didn't achieve anything compared to some players in this Premier League. So, you know, if you can say this player has more talent than another player.
I watched Kylian Mbappe drag a Monaco side to a Champions League final at 19 years or 18 years old.
He's not talking about that. He's talking about individual talent of the player, the footballing ability. You seen what that goal that he scored? The ball coming across, he kicks the ball up with his right foot and then volleys it in from the edge of the box, clean strike with his left.
Okay, but do it when it really matters, is what I'm saying. When it truly matters.
But that's not the argument. He didn't say that.
That's when you start. That's when you can start defining players' ability, because you know what? You put me out on an intramural field to play football or whatever, I can look great. You throw me into a team with lights on and everything, all of a sudden things change. When I've got to follow instruction, when I've got to do it when a game's on the line, when I've got to win a game that matters for me to win a league, I truly believe you just got to leave certain players out of arguments. I think Wirtz and him, cool, fine. But when you start doing the Mbappes and these players who have reached the echelon
but did he say he's a better player than
he has more ability? He said he has more ability.
But he does have more ability than Mbappe.
I just don't know if you can agree with
that. Doesn't mean he's a better player than Mbappe, because when you talk about who's a better player, you've got to then look at consistency of performance and what they've done, like you said, in when the lights are on, when it really matters. So Mbappe is a better player, but if you're just judging the actual talent at a base level, he's one of the most talented players we've seen. He's so talented. That doesn't mean he's going to turn out to be a mega football player, though. Balotelli was an unbelievable talented player. Guy that didn't achieve it like anywhere near as what he should have done in the game because he didn't do it consistently enough.
You know the thing is, I think what we're doing is we're talking about technical ability and just flicks and tricks and your ability to show the beautiful side of the game. And if you want to say Cherki is better than Mbappe, and that fair, but overall talent, you also have to include other things like your shooting ability, your ability to pass, your overall qualities, not
your
just
athleticism, your speed.
Athleticism also should be categorized under that. your God-given gifts should also be included in that, not just your ability on the ball.
Yeah,
So
because exactly.
Which is why I would never
exactly
say
where I'm at.
Mbappe. I'd never say Cherki's a better player.
I don't
than
think
Mbappe.
Cherki would say he's more talented than Mbappe.
I don't think you would either. I think when it comes to ability, you have to consider things like what Mbappe has is that blistering pace, is the ability to like. There's just certain things that he has that Cherki for me doesn't at this stage, and I'm one of those people. And ask anybody who knows me, I will always hold my hand up and say I got it wrong. I just think in this moment, I think we are going too far with this kid.
I just think you're changing what I just think. I've not seen the clip, right? But I imagine what Cams is saying is that just based off pure...
It was just a tweet.
So I don't know how he defines it.
I imagine what he's saying is just the
two most gifted players in the world right now. And I think he had a picture of Cherki and Lamar or something like that.
This here says, who wins the 100-yard dash, Cherki or Giroud? Cherki, he's quicker. The word talent has become aesthetics. Shake my head.
No, it's not actually, because that's really poor coming from you. Because one of the most talented football players I've seen is Santi Cazorla, and he was an unbelievable player, 2-footed player, unbelievable footballer. And I see a little bit of Cazorla in Cherki. I think Cherki's probably got a little bit more flair to his game than Cazorla. But Cazorla, I see a little bit of Cazorla in Cherki. And he was a brilliant player. He's one of my favorite players. He was one of my favorite non-City players. So are you saying Cazorla's just an aesthetics merchant? No.
He also says in LB's world, freestylers are the best footballers.
That's just not true, isn't it? But okay.
I know. Andre here says Milan fleeced Chelsea for Pulisic and Ruben. That's why Chelsea won't overpay for Mignon. Yeah,
I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Renders is horrible in defense. Virtually.
By the way, can I just pull up people saying that Cazorla had more flair than Cherki? I did what?
Because Cazorla was definitely one of the most like eye-popping players on the pitch.
He was a brilliant player, but he didn't have the flair that Cherki's got. Like he was one of my favorite players. Like I'm not dissing, but people are trying to say that he's more sort of flary than Cherki. That's crazy.
Cazorla was a magician. He's
one of my favorite players, not one of my favorite Man City players, non-Man City players. But people are saying he
had flair though. He definitely had flair.
Yeah, but these are guys that say he has more flair than Cherki. That's wild.
That's based on how you judge it. I'm not gonna.
You don't agree with that.
More.
You don't agree with that.
I'm not gonna say more or less, but I do think Cazorla on the pitch, you can see he's technically gifted.
Bro, I've just said he's one of my favorite non-City players of all time, but there's no way anyone's going to tell me that Cazorla had more like flair to his game than Cherki. That's absolutely insane. Did some of these guys not watch football or something?
Well, I haven't seen enough of Cherki to say he's head and shoulders has more flair than Cazorla.
Right, that's crazy, man.
He's a great player. I'm not hating on the player. I just don't like the comparisons. Just to make that clear, I think he's good. I just don't like the. Yeah.
Alex here says, does that mean Jeremy Lynch is more talented than Kante then? Is Cherki even a guaranteed starter at City?
Yeah, he is. He's a guaranteed starter.
I imagine he would be a guaranteed starter, given that my team has no creativity.
Jeremy Lynch is definitely more talented than some professional footballers.
Yeah, but he isn't. He isn't. I'll tell you why. So this is the difference. The talent of Cherki, you see it in real games, in real football matches. The Jeremy Lynch, by the way, I was actually watching his video with Imbermo the other day, and he's an amazingly technically gifted football player. Like he's got a footballer of some sort. You know, he's very talented on the ball. But I don't think any more so than most of the players you see in the Championship, League One, League Two. You could take players from Leyton Orient's first team right now, and they could do those kind of shots and goals and things that he does on the training ground. There's one thing doing that in training, and then there's doing it in a football match. I've even seen it on the playground. You'll have a kid in the playground who's the best kid out there. You put him in an actual football match where there's rules, where there's offsides, where the other team's in a structure, and they look awful. So the reason Cherki's ability is just what Kante could do on a ball in a game, even when it comes to him just driving forward with it, Jeremy Lynch couldn't do. Otherwise, Jeremy Lynch would have been a professional football player for many, many years. So yes, maybe Jeremy Lynch can do better tricks with the ball. Because I remember Scott McTominay being laughed at because he couldn't do that round the world trick. The man who just won Player of the Year in Serie A. He was being laughed at by people that got dropped from academies when they were 12 years old. just deep that for a moment. Like getting all those guys that laugh at Scott, even those guys that are good on like Baller FC, put them in a cage against Scott McTominay and watch him dominate them. I just don't think people realize that the comparisons are always wrong. Yeah, some 100-meter sprinters look really slow when they were racing Usain Bolt. It's comparative when you're up against. Like, let's not go crazy here. Cam, everyone says Mainu has more talent and more ability than McTominay, even though Mainu isn't yet performed at a higher level than McTominay.
I'll respond to that. So I don't know. Most people, you may not know. I haven't spoke about my opinion on Mainu this year, like very publicly, because I'll probably get destroyed for it. But I'm in the world of like, he still has to prove it. Like, he still was part of a team that finished 15th, and like he's got hurt quite a bit. In my opinion, like yeah, like I sure, like I listen. I'd rather Mainu. I'll say this: I'd rather Mainu, but I was never a Scott hater. I think Mainu has to prove it, and I think for Mainu to prove it, it's going to be this year. And if he doesn't prove it, like I'm in the camp of like this is people rip me apart for this take. I'm in the camp of I'd rather sell Mainu than Bruno. That's just like because one of them's done it for me. One of them's proved it. So I'm very much show me. That's who I am. I've always been show me. It's like I've seen the flashes. I know he's got crazy talent. I know he's young, but I'm a show me guy. That's it.
I hear that.
I think you guys should sell Bruno, by the way. And I haven't been on the show in a while. I think every time there's like a major rebuild, you sometimes have the opportunity to sell a key piece for a transformative amount of money. And if you can get, what was it, 90 to 80 to 100 million for Bruno Fernandes, that could really help you guys push forward and get all the pieces you need going forward.
I hear that. Jeremy Lins was the best player Wenger had ever seen. That's true.